Hi, Jennifer Hale, back again on the SkillsHub.Life channel to talk more about how to be a voice actor. Today, we're going to talk about all the different ways to make money with your voice, and I'm going to bet you that this is not even all of them. These are just ones that we've compiled at acting.skillshub.life to give people a sense of what's possible, because a lot of the time people come into this career because something has caught their eye in what I like to call the shiny objects of voiceover or voice acting. That could be games, it could be anime, it could be animation, commercials, something in those pieces that you see all the time and that people celebrate in pop culture, right? And so they go for those aspects of voice acting, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what is a problem is they leave a bunch of money on the table because there are all these other ways to make a living with your voice. When I first started, my first job ever was a commercial. It was playing a Valley girl in a commercial. And I was instantly hooked and was very fortunate to find myself some mentors, Greg and Courtney at Batwell Studios, who took great care of me and taught me along the way. And I bugged them. I was the happy pest. I just kept coming up and coming back and asking for help. And that's actually a lot of what SkillsHub.Life is modeled after, is the kind of structure that brought me along and brought me to success as a voice actor. So that was my first job, was doing a commercial. And then I found out that in that town, there were, in where I lived in Birmingham, Alabama, there were 5 ad agencies that did what were called syndicated car commercials. I didn't even know this existed. I bet you don't know it exists either, right? Some of you probably will. But what they would do is they would go around to smaller dealerships in smaller cities like Columbus, Georgia, tiny places in Mississippi, Columbus, Mississippi, like all these different small towns. And they would go to the car dealers and they would sell them ads. And they would make a general ad, and then they would simply swap out the name of the dealer at the end of the ad. Same ad for a bunch of different dealerships, just customized to that dealership and what they needed. And what that meant for me as a voice actor was volume business, because I would do the main ad and then I would do all the tags for all the dealerships. And that's just one example of the crazy ways you can make a living with your voice here on YouTube. There are people who are narrating videos, explaining videos for products large and small, and that is paid work, much of it. I think most of it should be. So I've got a little diagram here. Beep. We have this at acting.skillshub.life. I'll put a link down below in the description so you can find this. And this is just one sample of what's possible, but we divided it into 2 sections. I'm trying not to go off mic here. We divided, let me see if I can do this backwards, into voiceover and voice acting. This side requires much more acting in the actual job itself. And in this side, an acting background is very beneficial, but it's not essential, and most of what you're going to be doing is communicating in a different way. All right, I'm going to take this and read it, because reading this way is just not going to happen for me. So on the voiceover side, you've got commercials, narration, promos, tonight on ABC, that kind of thing. Trailers, which is in a world, right? Movie trailers and now TV show, all kinds of things. Magazine narration, something I never thought of, e-learning, audiobooks, audio description, podcasting, international work, corporate training. On the acting side, you've got things like animation, games, audio drama. This is a blossoming area of the craft. ADR and looping. Now, let me explain what that is. This is really interesting. When there's animation itself, the way that is created, we, the actors, lay down the script like a radio play. We get together and they record us. Nowadays, they record a lot of us individually in our home studios, but they can also record us all together, in the studio or one at a time in a central studio. And then they'll animate to that. And later, there's some tweaking and fixing and a little bit after the fact stuff that happens. But it starts with the recording of the voices, right? In anime and dubbing and things like that, that includes, now this is a big field. It includes all sorts of things. I'm not going to get into that because that's a squirrel track. I will stay here. I will not squirrel. In anime and dubbing, what happens is the animation has been created in another country, in a different language. And then when it's brought to, America or Canada, the US or Canada, people will go in the booth, and your job as an actor is you've got a script in front of you that's a translation of the lines, and that translation can sometimes be awkward in its wording. Sometimes it can be fabulous. It just depends on how big a lift that was to get it from one language to the other. And it's your job to make it work, to drop in as an actor and to not only experience the moment in that acting truth way, but to also get your timing right, because the line might have been 4 words in the original language, but for you to say it, it's going to be 7, but you have the same amount of time. And you also have to match the lip flaps that were going to be very different in the other language, but you've got to make it work. So that is a really intensive craft, anime and dubbing. Let's talk about in film and TV on camera. This actually involves an element of voiceover because after the fact, people have to go back and do what's called ADR. I believe technically it's called automated dialogue replacement. In addition, in those film scenes and in those TV shows, you see the main characters talking, but in the background, you see the people at the table going, well, blah, blah, blah. And she said this and he said that. When you shoot that on the actual day of shooting, those people back there are silent. Nobody's saying a word. They're faking talking to each other because to actually talk, they're not going to be able to make that match perfectly every shot. It distracts from the main people in the scene, the main performers in the scene. So then you have this entire field of looping, ADR and looping, which is you go back in and you create that dialogue. It's a room full of actors, all just waiting. It's a full day. People go there, they bring food, they take turns bringing food, things like that. They show up and they spend the day going in and out of the room where they're recording. Okay, you and you are going to do this scene. You guys do this scene. You're that woman over there in the corner who gets hit with the piece of flying debris. Okay, go. It's a real art form. All right. We also have, there's also theater stuff that involves the voice. If you've ever been to like a Cirque du Soleil show, you've got singers in the background and things like that. That's the voice as part of the show. And then a really interesting part of the game industry called performance capture. That involves the use of the voice in a very particular way. You're playing a specific character. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous art form. So there are a ton of ways to make money with your voice, and I haven't even touched on a whole bunch of them. There are so many more. All right, so there are lots of options. When you go into this career, when you start to practice and train and study, keep your eyes open. Keep your mind open. And we think of these at Skills Hub as income streams. I did that the right way. I'm amazed. I thought I was going to get it backwards. As income streams, they feed into your river of cash, right? So you want to diversify. And the way that we suggest doing it is you learn the skill, build the business machine to get that skill out in the world, get that income stream flowing, get it going. Great. Now get it in maintenance. Now let's add another income stream in another area. Maybe audiobooks calls to you, right? And you build the skill, build the little business and marketing machine to get you out in the world doing that, put it into maintenance, check in on it, check in on this other one, and now you have a couple of streams. See how this works? Bunch of streams, big river, all going well, lots of longevity, lots of stability. We love this. Those are just a few of the ways to make money with your voice, all along the path of how to be a voice actor. Thanks for listening. Check us out at acting.skillshub.life. I am Jennifer Hale. So glad you're here.